Alright guys, so welcome back once again. So I'm sitting here with my friend. She is currently working here in Germany as a QA engineer for last 2 years. Her story is quite interesting because when she came, it was right before pandemic, and then the pandemic started, she got redundant, and now she has another job. Let's start from your introduction first.
So I'm a QA engineer. I grew up partly in Gujarat, and most of my upbringing happened in Mumbai. So I basically come from Mumbai. I have around 13 years of experience as a QA engineer, and I've worked with a lot of really great companies in India. I'm in Germany, specifically Berlin, since 2 years. Most of my experience is manual plus automation, mostly in Selenium WebDriver with Java.
Is there any other tools in the space of automation?
So there are a lot of other tools depending on what you want to automate. Mostly, they use API tools like TestNG, REST API, and these are the two main tools used for API testing. And Selenium WebDriver. I'm also working on WebStorm. This is the latest one which works with JavaScript. So and I also in the middle tried my hands on mobile UI automation using Espresso with Kotlin. So
If there are some manual testers who are watching us, what's in it for them?
So I would say there are manual testing positions here, but they're very few, and they will not pay you enough for you to survive here. If you want a good lifestyle, then you would be really struggling with making ends meet. So I would suggest that please take some training, get some experience, at least in Selenium or Cypress, which are very hot tools here. And also some TestNG API automation, because there are a lot of companies looking for API automation. Also working on CI/CD integration. So you should know, not only you should know how to write your test cases, but you should also know how you will integrate them and eventually run. So normally they use Jenkins, Circle CI for final running of your scheduling jobs to run your tests. But you should know all those things. They expect you to do it.
I see. Let's go back to 2019, and I think that was the time you got a job.
Yes.
2019, what month?
February.
Yes. So in 2019 February you got a job. When did you arrive in Berlin?
July 2019.
Okay, so in Feb all the way to July 2019.
Yes.
Okay, so when you came here, we're going to talk about your interview process of that time.
Yeah.
And 4 months later, when you got redundant and then you were looking for another job, you again had to go through interview round, right?
Yes.
We'll also going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start from when you were back in India in 2019. How was the whole process of how did you get this job, the first job?
So I give this credit, and I tell everyone that I give this credit to my husband, because he applied on my behalf to thousands of companies on LinkedIn. And eventually we came in contact with this headhunter who approached me, and we took it forward. So this happened in May 2018, and eventually they pushed my resumes to a lot of companies, and eventually something became concrete in February 2019. So
it took 1 year.
Yes, it takes 1 year. And headhunters are the one. With headhunters, you have much better chances to get through, because they really push for your CVs. And otherwise, keep applying on LinkedIn. That is the only way you can get through. Do not depend on someone will refer you. So don't wait for that. And keep applying. That is the only thing that will get you through everything. Just keep applying to LinkedIn. And it's not just 100 applications, it's thousands of applications every day, every week. So keep doing it.
Some headhunter found your CV, that person forwarded to the company. You got a call now from the company.
Yeah.
How many rounds of interview you had to go through?
I had in total 3 to 4 rounds.
We're going to break them down now.
Yes.
Okay. Walk us through little by little.
So the first round was actually the headhunter took my first round, because they called me And actually, the CEO of the headhunter company called me and he prepared me for the interview. They also shared the format of the CV. So I made the CV and everything in the format required. And also they prepared me for the interview. They just gave me some ideas about what points to stress on. Second thing is the first round from the interview was getting to know you. So they just talk about what are your qualifications and what skill set you have and everything, and would you be able to, because it was a startup and I always work for corporate, so it's very important for them to know that you agree to work in a startup and your mindset is such.
Yeah.
So this is the getting to know you round. It's very friendly. It's the second round when they give you an assignment. So it can be a coding assignment, or they can just ask you how to write test cases, or how do you create a bug and what information you put in a bug, how to document a bug, and also in bug triaging. So these are the topics they usually ask. And then another round is a coding round. So it's like they send you a coding assignment and you have, based on your skills, and you have to solve them in a time frame, send it back to them. And if you're qualified, then there is the third round where they discuss your solutions and everything. And then later on, the fourth round is basically when they really like you. It's more of cultural fit. And after that they just offer you, if you fit their cultural standards, then they offer you a job.
And before coming to Germany, how many years of experience you had?
I had 11 years of experience.
11 years of experience. Yeah. Okay. Behind the camera, we were actually talking how all of this, when she got, when she lost the job, you said that your job interview here was more grilling than the one what you had in the first time when you were in India.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Yes. So job interviews here are like a nightmare. I'm not mincing. I'm not going to mince my words because you need to get a reality check. In India, I think my interviews were much lenient compared to what you get here. Here, they have same expectations from you as they have from a developer, a Java developer, or any sort of developer. So you are basically a test developer basically for them. So you need to be you need to brush up on your basics too. They ask a lot of basics.
When you say basic questions, like, can you give some examples?
For example, one thing is like these concepts of encapsulation, the object-oriented programming concepts like encapsulation, inheritance, all that, and also how you identify an element using CSS or XPath. All those things, like the basic things of Selenium. So you need to remember this. And also, how would you handle, let's say you identify an object, then how would you use that object? So there are specific methods in Selenium to handle each kind of object, like a drop down or a radio button or a text box. So all these things are very important. Just brush up. Also, they look at your logic. So how you use your logic, one interesting thing is that they also expect you to follow some design patterns, like KISS, like keep it simple, stupid, or remove the code that you are not going to use. So you should never have unused code in your framework. Also, they see how you create your framework, like how you design your framework. So, these are simple things, but very small things, but very important. So, whenever you do a coding challenge, you make sure that you give your best and give them the best solution you can do. And normally, they give you a week's time. If an assignment is given to you, they give you a week's time. But if it is an online coding challenge, then you just have 2 hours. So the clock starts ticking. They have a timer that starts when you actually log in and start the test. And once the test is finished, you have 2 hours. So if you do not finish, you need to keep saving your progress. And after 2 hours, the test will simply end wherever you left it.
Yeah. Right. So when you gave the job interview second time, can you just tell us like how many rounds you had, and just walk us through, especially where the part where they challenged you, where they gave you a task and you had to complete it?
Yeah, so actually I had 3 rounds for the current company.
Okay.
So the first round was getting to know, of course.
Yeah.
The second round, they sent me a test which I had to do in a week's time, but they eventually called me for an interview. They didn't wait for the test.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was, I would give example of other companies, the tests that I did for other companies. So these tests are normally depending on your skill set. If you say that I have done API automation, then they'll give you a test according to API automation. If you've done web automation using Selenium, then they'll ask you to do it. Similarly, it depends on what what role you're applying to. For example, if you're applying for a mobile automation job or a mobile tester job, then they'll ask you to do mobile automation using APM or any maybe other specific tools they want you to automate into. So these are a lot of factors. So you have to be very careful while you create your resume, that you know what skills you want to highlight and what you're confident with, that you can display your skills, and you use those skills, and you just mention only those skills on resume so that you can solve your coding challenges also accordingly. And also be careful about the job description, because mostly the requirements are clearly defined in the job description. If they say it's a mobile testing job, then please expect questions on mobile testing and they will ask you to automate it. I've been asked to automate mobile and I did it. And also integration with CI/CD. This is very important.
And you had experience with all of this in the past?
No.
Oh my god, okay.
I learned everything on the job. In fact, in my first job, there was a mobile app that I was testing. So I had never tested mobile applications in my life. So I learned Kotlin on the job. I learned Espresso on the job. I spoke to the developers, the mobile Android developers, and spoke to them, and that's how, and I learned how to use emulators to actually emulate a mobile environment and everything, and that's how I created a framework and created automation tests for mobile automation. And similarly, you have to accept something about technology, that every technology becomes like a legacy at some point, and you will have to move on from what you learn currently. So now that Selenium is all over the market, but I see a lot of tools which are replacing Selenium, and like WebStorm. So right now, you will see a lot of projects are migrating to WebStorm and JavaScript. So I had never coded in JavaScript. I always coded in Java and Selenium WebDriver. Then I also I learned Groovy and then coded in Groovy. Then I learned JavaScript and I coded in JavaScript. So you have to keep changing and you have to keep learning. That's how you grow. And also I forgot to mention the database. So of course you need to use SQL queries to verify stuff in database. So also learn, if you are a manual tester, you've never done automation, please also learn automating a database, how to read and write values, how to connect to databases, what are the different types of database, and the different kinds of the languages they use to query it's usually SQL, but the manipulation language, and it's called the DML and something else,
Okay.
So one is where you kind of manipulate stuff, and the other is you simply read stuff. So all these things you have to be very knowledgeable about databases also. Do not forget them.
Okay. Now that you have 13 years of experience, you've seen enough of industry actually. If you were to design a test case right now, and there are QA people who are watching us, what would you really test people on? What would you look into them?
So first of all is, how your framework is. You know, how do you code and what is your logic that you're using? Are you following these design patterns? Are you able to, and the most important thing is to make your project work. So if your code doesn't work, even though you have written code, it doesn't work, it gets a little difficult, you know, then your chances are low. Now that your code is working and your test cases are executing, you have to make sure that your framework is properly designed. You are not, you know, it has to be very systematic. I'm not going to like share details about how your framework has to be. You can probably read tutorials on your framework, but get a really good framework. And also have a Git profile. Have your frameworks uploaded on Git so that, you know, create repos in Git and share all those things with people. And I think a lot of places ask for a Git repo. You simply give your Git profile and they will actually check on your Git profile if you have any public repos, and those repositories, they check your code in repositories. Some of them actually ask if you have something similar, like they ask you, for example, one of the questions was that you have to log in to a page, to an application, web application, and you have to check that you have successfully logged in. Okay, now they might also ask that if you have something similar already done on your Git profile, please share with us.
Okay.
So sometimes you might just skip that step and just send them the you know, Git profile, and you might not even have to solve.
Sure. Okay.
But in this case, I've seen that most of the rejections are when they do not find a good, you are not able to integrate with CI/CD tool. If you're able to integrate, then your framework is not up to the mark. So, you know, these are very important things.
Right. Let's talk a juicy part of this conversation now, about the salary.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to know your salary, but someone with your caliber and the years of experience, I just need to know the ballpark of how much can they expect.
So you can expect somewhere between 50 to 65,000, and you know, a lot of times, so we didn't have this thing, but I was eventually, I will not quote the number, but I was offered a good salary here, that enough to survive here, and we had like a few savings. But otherwise, you know, they exploit this thing that the fact that you are leaving India, and this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity for you, and you would come for any money over here.
Yeah.
So they really exploit you. So if you are very keen on a certain salary, then tell them and be strong on it. And then, you know, then there is a risk, of course, that, you know, they might not get back to you because they also have a budget. Also, you have to understand that you are entering a new market. So maybe you are a team lead in India or a senior QA, but you might have to end up coming here at a lower level. So let's say if you're a senior, you might come at a, you know, mid-level QA. I've seen TLs come as a on mid-level QA positions. So you know, you need to accept that fact and not be very choosy about jobs.
Right.
So they do that. That happens.
Right. One last thought of yours to all the QA testers who are watching us, and then we're going to end the video.
So I would say keep preparing, keep going on, keep applying. That's the only secret to this recipe. And just remember, there are 4 points you should stress on: database, your coding, your framework, your CI/CD integration, and your logic. 4 or 5 things that just prepare on this, and your basic QA concepts like verification, validation, boundary value analysis, the best practices that you follow, all these things. And also remember the challenges you faced in your previous projects and the solutions you brought to them. This is something which is very interesting, and they are looking for such things. So remember those stories when you are giving interviews, because mostly you will be asked this question.
Got it. So thank you so much for coming on my channel and sharing such an intense, you know, technical knowledge with everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.